Hello and welcome to Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. We thank you for joining us once again. I am Lydia Ojije Ochi. The Senate has passed the Finance Bill 2020 for second reading. Less than 24 hours it was transmitted by the executive. Just like the Finance Bill 2019, the 2020 Finance Bill is expected to enhance revenue generation for the funding of the 2021 budget through the general review of Nigeria's tax laws. The laws the executive bill seeks to amend include the capital gain tax, companies income tax, personal income tax, value-added tax, and fiscal responsibility acts. The passage of the proposed law will boost small and medium-scale enterprises through incentives. The bill is to also intensify measures against tax evasion through the upward review of penalties for defaulters from 5 to 10%. 4 bills passed first reading. These include the National Human Rights Commission Act repeal and reenactment bill. Former Nigeria's finance minister and former managing director of the World Bank, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, has been announced as the recipient of the 2020 African of the Year Award. The award is coming few weeks after the chair of the General Council of the World Trade Organization, Dr. David Walker, and facilitators of the process for the appointment of Directors General formally submitted her name as the World Trade Organization DG designate, the candidate who has garnered the most support to head the organization. In a statement issued by her media advisor, Paul Nwabuku, the Forbes African CNBC Award is the latest honor clinched by the multi-award-winning development economist, one of the African Union's special envoys, appointed to mobilize international support for Africa's efforts to address the COVID-19 economic fallout, and World Health Organization special envoy for the newly inaugurated Access to COVID-19 Tools Accelerator. Okonjo-Iweala expressed delight at the recognition and dedicated the award to Africans facing the health and socio-economic challenges of COVID-19 during a very difficult year. Okonjo-Iweala, unquote, said, "It is a great honor to serve Africa in different capacities. I look forward to deploying my energies at the World Trade Organization for Africa and the world," end of quote. The Nigerian governors' wives are drumming up support to end gender-based violence in the country. The Advocacy is in partnership with development partners who are collectively calling for justice for victims of gender-based violence. At the launch of the campaign in Abuja, speakers were unanimous that the campaign against gender-based violence should be supported by all. Details will come in our subsequent bulletins. Still on gender, as the world sustained 16 days of activism campaign to end gender-based violence and empower women, well-spirited individuals are complementing federal government initiative to lift vulnerable women out of poverty. Tessie Omeri reports that many less privileged women smiled home with empowerment kits in the FCT.
Machines, among other items, were donated to the vulnerable women to engage them in ventures for self-reliance. Receiving the items for onward distribution to the beneficiaries, Reverend Father Innocent Georgie appreciated the group for the donation, calling for a concerted efforts by all to end violence against the girl child.
By reducing the number of people looking for job, apart from taking care of themselves and the family.
The donors of the items say the donation is to support government in lifting women out of poverty.
It will strengthen them, not to expose them to the evil world.
With this, some young women will be able to, eke out some living.
They called on all stakeholders to join the fight as a society where the girl child is respected and honored is possible. Tessie Omeri, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Nigeria Association of Women Journalists, NAWOJ, has condemned the killing of rice farmers in Zabameri of Jere local government area of Borno State. In a statement by NAWOJ's President Ladibala, the association commiserates with the government and the people of Borno State over the incident and appealed to Governor Babagana Zulum to give widows of the deceased appointments as alternative sources of income to alleviate their suffering. The association also welcomes the marching order by President Muhammadu Buhari to the military to take the battle to the enclave of the terrorists. Now to security matters. The Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole has destroyed some dwellings of Boko Haram terrorist leaders and neutralized several of their fighters in separate air strikes executed in the Sambisa forest area, as well as at a settlement about 1.7 kilometers east of Yali, both in Borno State. In a statement by Coordinator, Media Operations, Defense Headquarters, Major General John Enyenche says the air raids were undertaken 30th November 2020 after credible human intelligence reports and series of aerial surveillance missions had indicated that some of the Boko Haram terrorists had carried out recent attacks against innocent civilians were harbored in makeshift structures under the dense vegetation of the Sambisa forest, while others were traced or tracked to the settlement east of Yali. Even as he begins to prepare to retire from the bench of the FCT Judiciary, the federal government has reappointed Justice Ishaq Bello as the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Reform and Decongestion of Correctional Centers in Nigeria. Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, disclosed this at a valedictory session organized for the retiring Chief Judge of the FCT Judiciary. Femi Okeowo was there.
By the 5th of January 2021, Justice Ishaq Bello, who has served the Nigerian judiciary for 35 years, 5 of which he was Chief Judge of the FCT High Court, will bow out of the bench. But his service exhibited through his passion for the administration of criminal justice is already highly sought after by his fatherland.
The suspects are hereby discharged.
Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami says President Muhammadu Buhari has approved that Justice Ishaq Bello continues as the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Reform and Decongestion of Correctional Centers.
The activities of the committee, in collaboration with the relevant stakeholders, have so far seen to about 8,000 persons being released from correctional centers across the country.
At the valedictory session organized by the Presidential Committee, Justice Ishaq Bello thanks President Muhammadu Buhari for the confidence and promised that the President's desires for an effective correctional criminal justice system will not be dashed.
Together as partners, we will continue to take justice delivery to greater height, and we find our permanent seat within the map of developed nations.
Already, a report of the Presidential Committee is soon to be submitted to the President. In Abuja, Femi Okeowo, NTA News.
Time now to go to the Center of Excellence for more on Nationwide. Adeola is our guide.
Thank you. Plan Plans are being finalized to commence the implementation of the weight limit regulation for trucks and articulated vehicles across the country. The move, according to the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, is to set standards and establish procedures for the control of axle load of trucks plying federal highways, with a view to protecting this critical infrastructure. Dr. Oguyemi completes the report.
As far back as February 2018, the federal government introduced the axle load control policy to regulate the tonnage carried by heavy-duty trucks, most of whom carry beyond their capacity. Annually, huge resources are expended on road reconstruction and rehabilitation like this one across the country, especially on highways which have been subjected to the worst form of abuses, one of which is the axle load violation by trucks. The policy, initiated to improve the lifespan of these critical assets, has however been confronted with lack of compliance. This stakeholders conference not only highlights dangers of violating the excess weight limit, but is recommending fines ranging from 1 million to 10 million naira for defaulters.
If they see that you violate the law regularly, the vehicle can be impounded and then the owner can be charged to court as well. Mr. President has already signed it and it has been gazetted.
The stakeholders, however, urged the government to take the enforcement to the point of loading at ports and tank farms for strict implementation.
The enforcement at the point of loading is key. Living outside the point of loading, government needs to put a structure in place to check them.
The moment the implementation starts, we are good to go, and it will go a long way in reducing the rate of crashes on our highways.
The action, among other things, will guarantee integrity of roads as well as promote the overall safety of other road users. In Lagos, Dr. Oguyemi, NTA News.
Now, to ensure an all-inclusive economic growth, the federal government put in place strategies to drive its policies. This proactive initiative prevented the nation's economy from experiencing a total meltdown in the face of global economic recession. Abolade Salami in this report examines the impact of the policies on the sustainability of the economy.
The last data released by the National Bureau of Statistics on the performance of the nation's gross domestic product for third quarter 2020 shows a negative 3.62% to reflect as the second contraction for the year under review. As a way to absorb the shock and keep the economy afloat in the face of recession, the federal government's sustainability plan aimed at sustaining businesses and creating conducive environment plays a major role, while the Central Bank of Nigeria in its monetary policy meeting reduced rates from 13.5% to 11.5% in order to help boost liquidity in the system.
Right now, we need to support our small-scale businesses more than ever before, small and medium-scale businesses. According to the Central Bank Governor, more than 70% of these businesses have also already had drawdown on some of the monies and the packages Central Bank had put forward.
While Nigeria is not the only sacrificial lamb going through this financial difficulty caused by the global pandemic, economic watchers have expressed optimism on the nation's quick exit from recession, going by the developmental economic policies initiated by the government.
We are cautiously optimistic that Nigeria may exit the recession, but during the fourth quarter, if we continue to push our interventions, particularly to the households and small and medium enterprises who actually consider a major fulcrum to development of our economy.
The proactive response of government and key economic stakeholders to revive the economy from sluggish growth to a more rapid performance has been described as the panacea to economic recession. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
And from that report now, we'll go to the Army's fight against fake news. The Nigerian Army is repositioning to rid the nation of fake and inciting messages capable of hampering national security and economic growth. This was the focal point at this year's media workshop by the Army's School of Public Relations and Information. Lynn Leneke reports.
Nigeria is faced with a host of complex security challenges ranging from insurgency to piracy. Most recently, the EndSARS protest, which turned violent due to unfounded reports released to the public space. It is against this background and the increasing threats of fake news that these media practitioners are guided to brainstorm and draw attention of the public to the dangers of inaccurate reports, misinformation and disinformation to Nigeria's national security, peace and development.
The daunting challenges the Nigerian Army and indeed Nigerian Armed Forces are faced with require public support and understanding, especially in the era of social media and the increasing threat of fake news in Nigeria.
Representative of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukuru Buratai, identified effective synergy as a tool for achieving peace, security, and stability in the country.
Through effective synergy between the military, other security agencies, and the media, that we can collectively succeed in our onerous task of building public confidence.
The theme supporting the military, panacea for improved national security, ensuring secured peaceful atmosphere for economic growth and development is imperative at this critical time. In Lagos, Lynn Lenake, NTA News.
And that does it from Lagos. Nationwide will continue after this break. To stay with us.
A scorecard like no other. Government has put in place measures and initiatives principally targeted at youths, women, and the most vulnerable groups in our society. These included a broad plan to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in the next 10 years. The creation of 75 billion naira National Youth Investment Fund to provide opportunities for the youths, and the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Survivor Fund, through which government is A. Paying 3-month salaries of the staff of 100,000 micro, small and medium enterprises. B. Paying for the registration of 250,000 businesses at the Corporate Affairs Commission. C. Giving a grant of 30,000 naira to 100,000 artisans and guaranteeing market for the product of traders. These are in addition to many other initiatives such as farmer money, trader money, market money, N-Power, N-Tech, and N-Agro. These and more in spite of a recession and a global pandemic.
When you think about hospitality and affordable luxury away from home, then you talk about Sharon Ultimate Hotels, a secured and serene environment that offers kingly services such as 24-hour room service, impeccable security with CCTV surveillance, parking lots, free Wi-Fi internet service, free complimentary breakfast, restaurants that offers continental and local dishes, well-equipped fitness center with instructors, swimming pool, 350 capacity multi-purpose hall, laundry service, pastry corner, mini mart, and our suites are breathtaking. For reservation, locate us at plot 1710, Tafawa Balewa Way, Area 3, Garikia, Abuja. The Sharon Ultimate Hotels, the ultimate place.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous, whether you do it for fun or for political gains. Real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it. This is a public service announcement from NTA. The Council of Our Fathers.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Thanks for staying tuned. The Federal Road Safety Corps wishes to advise the general public on the need for adequate planning of their trips for users of the Lagos-Ibadan corridor. The tanker explosion on Magboro Bridge on the outwards of Lagos section of the expressway, which occurred early hours of Wednesday, 2nd November 2020, has called for the need to adjust one's movement for the day on the 2nd of December, I beg your pardon. This means a total standstill situation of vehicular movement along the expressway. Relentless efforts are still being made to extinguish the fire by men of fire service, backed up by men of other agencies around the scene of the inferno. The FRSC therefore advises the travelers who are bound to transit in and out of Lagos from the neighboring states to explore alternative routes, and the FRSC wishes road users safe journey to their various destinations. The global economic downturn occasioned by the ravaging COVID-19 has casted a second wave of financial pitfalls on Nigeria's economy after the 2016 experiment, which impacted on multilateral growth and development. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports that guests on NTA's Current Affairs program, Tuesday Live, are optimistic that the federal government's several intervention programs will soon take the country out of the recession and assist the gross domestic product pick up fast.
The insurgence of a second phase of the economic downturn is engaging experts and policymakers on ways of changing the narrative within the predicted first quarter of 2021.
We have countries like Austria, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Russia, Spain, UK, the US, Norway, Italy, Netherlands. They are all in a recession. And in our own case, the negative GDP growth that we have of about -3 is much better than the envisaged -6 that we were expecting at this time.
Yes, so reflecting the economy in this essence would be about providing funding and, of course, incentives to the production arm of the economy. And not just the production arm of the economy, also to the consumption arm of the economy.
Guests say the massive injection of funds into the activities of small and medium-scale enterprises is fast-tracking recovery of negative gross domestic product.
I challenge anybody to compare the infrastructural development record of the previous 30 years from 1985 to 2015 to what has happened since 2015 to date, given even with the limited resources we've had available. Not to speak of social investment programs to tens of millions of people that did not exist before 2015. So, yes, there are problems in the country, no doubt about that. Nobody is sugarcoating that fact. But let's acknowledge that we have made unprecedented progress and that even as we are not where we want to be, we are on the way there, and that is undeniable.
I must give a credit on this government to say that we have to go back to that long-term national development that will take us to the promised land.
As conversation continues on the present economic reality in the country, stakeholders' perspective in stabilizing the indices of growth is recurrently hope for surviving the trying times. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
The Judicial Panel of Inquiry and Restitution for Victims of Police Brutality sitting in Lagos says the panel will not entertain any petition already before the Apex Court, stating that it is outside the panel's terms of reference. Justice Doris Okobi made this known when she dismissed one of the petitions at the panel. Dotun Ogunyemi reports.
When Mr. Bonu Pascal was called to state his case, counsel to the respondent vehemently objected to it, stating that the matter is before the Supreme Court, knowing fully well that the panel do not have legal right to hear the case. He presented documents of the Apex Court's proceedings. Counsel to the petitioner agrees that the panel in its wisdom could hear the case.
It is a practice for courts or panels of this nature to allow an adjournment when counsel says from the bar that he has processes in respect of an appeal. In the said state of the law, this petition is hereby adjourned to 4th December 2020 for the appeal processes to be presented before the panel.
Meanwhile, Justice Doris Okuobi berated counsel to the respondent for deliberately delaying proceedings by asking for another adjournment in the case involving Ndukwe Ekekwe on grounds that the counsel could not call his witness, who is in Enugu.
This application for an adjournment today is another too many. In the spirit of fair hearing, however, the panel will grant this final indulgence of an adjournment to the respondents. Failure to present their witness at the next hearing date, their case will be closed and time assigned for counsel's sum up to be filed.
Justice Okuobi, however, adjourned the case to a later date for further hearing. In Lagos, Dotun Oguyemi, NTA News.
The Police Service Commission has debunked allegations on the withholding of payment of police constables properly recruited in 2019. A statement by the head media and publicity, Ikechukwu Ani, explained that the commission has since screened the list of the successful candidates sent to it by the Office of the Inspector General of Police. The commission has also released appointment letters to the candidates and approved their capturing into the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System, IPPIS, for the payment of their salaries and allowances. The Commission wishes to clarify that it had to bend backwards to accommodate the list of these candidates, even after the Court of Appeal gave judgment in favor of the Commission nullifying the recruitment exercise by the Nigeria Police Force. 5 inmates who escaped from Oko Custodial Center during the NSAS protest in Edo State were rearrested by the police. 30 other suspects were also paraded before newsmen for involvement in armed robbery, unlawful possession of firearms, illegal dealings, and trade of arms. Francis Form has more.
Okay, can you confirm again that
this suspect, who is among the 4 escaped inmates, was on the death row before his escape. He was alleged to have snatched a vehicle 30 minutes after his escape at the custodial center.
Can you confirm that you snatched a Toyota Venza from Kaduna?
Yes, sir.
Okay, where is that Venza now?
Now, because it is still with them.
On the other hand, this suspect, known as Gomnati, is said to have broken the record of car thefts. He stole 18 cars within 90 days. Another suspect, a female, is said to have specialized in gun running.
From her alone, a total of 6 AK rifles have been recovered. 8 stolen vehicles recovered, including a Mercedes truck that was almost being crossed to Niger Republic.
Police say efforts are on to recover all the stolen vehicles. In Abuja, Francis Form, NTA News.
Mina brings us more reports from Enugu Network Center. Hello, Mina.
Hello, Lydia. Good afternoon and welcome to Enugu. Ahead of Christmas celebration, motorists, especially commercial bus drivers, have been advised to desist from consumption of drugs and alcohol while on the steering to avoid road crashes that more often leads to loss of lives. This was the thrust of this year's message at the flag off of the Ember Month campaign of the Federal Road Safety Corps in Enugu State. Amechi Pius reports that this year's theme is Drive Safe, Stay Safe.
It's that time of the year when there's heavy human and vehicular movement across the country. Investigations by the Federal Road Safety Corps over the years reveal an increase in road crashes during the period under review. For instance, in Enugu State in 2019, there were 171 cases of road accidents, out of which 646 were injured, while 90 people lost their lives. The statistics put the number of those who died between January and October this year at 80 from over 90 road accidents. These efforts by the FRSC is to create awareness on the need for road users to adhere strictly to traffic rules and regulations.
Aggressive public enlightenment is needful at a time like this, when road traffic challenges coincide with COVID-19 pandemic.
This year's exercise, he noted, will be supported by the various agencies working with transport owners to enforce compliance.
Encourage all our drivers to make sure they drive gently, avoid overspeeding, avoid recklessness, and make sure that you get our passengers to their destination without any problem.
The FRSC says it's committed to ensuring that the disturbing figures of road crashes are reduced to the barest minimum. In Enugu, Amechi Pius, NTA News.
Members of staff and management of Project Development Institute PRODA have commended President Muhammadu Buhari for taking steps to sensitize an agency and reposition it for effective delivery on its core mandate of industrialization through research and development. They gave the commendation during the first general staff meeting of the institute with the Acting Director General Edwin Oriako. Judah Bugu has details.
The meeting, presided over by the Acting Director General, Mr. Edwin Oriako, was a platform for members of staff and management to interact and come up with ideas on how to move the organization forward. The present administration, the meeting noted, has all it takes to reposition various industrial and educational institutes in the country to meet international standards. The Acting Director General seized the opportunity to make clarifications on recent publications by some newspapers concerning the headship of the agency. He explained that following the suspension of the agency's Director General by the presidency, the suspended DG was instructed to hand over to the most senior officer, but he went against the directive of the presidency and handed over to an officer of his choice.
Obeying the directive of the president, the board met, because you cannot leave PRODA in a vacuum like that, and recognized me as the overseeing Director General Soxi. I was empowered because of the paper from the presidency.
Some members of the management and labor leaders who condemned the action of the suspended DG advised staff to disregard any information or publication that goes contrary to the president's directive and the decision of PRODA governing board. In Enugu, Jude Abugu, NTA News.
And that's a bit from here. It's back to you, Lydia, for a continuation of Nationwide.
Many thanks, Mina. Minister of State Health Dr. Olorunimbe Mamora is soliciting cordial working relationship between the federal and cross-river state governments towards the restoration of the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, which was looted and vandalized during the EndSARS protest hijacked by hoodlums. The minister made the appeal during an official visit to the state government house in Calabar. Paul Abel has details.
The Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital in Calabar was one of the worst hit during the national crisis, and the Minister of State for Health is in Calabar on a fact-finding mission to the facility. The minister commends the state government for the mutual understanding between the state and the center, adding that the devastation on the facility requires partnership to be rebuilt. The Cross River State government expresses its poor financial position to provide support following the devastation on several of its facilities.
Hospital of that status meant to give care to the mentally infirmed. But having seen things for myself, I know what to report. Went back in Abuja.
Do whatever it is to help us. Because if I told you that we are going to do, no, I will be deceiving you. You cannot When you are completely helpless yourself, how can you help any other person?
The minister, accompanied by the Commissioner for Health and Management of the Psychiatric Hospital and other tertiary health institutions, inspected the medical facility, which has been in operation for more than a century. In Calabar, Paul Abel, NTA News.
The United Kingdom, through her Cabinet Office, has commenced a 3-day training to equip staff members of the National Orientation Agency on COVID-19 communication strategy. Ikechukwu Ndukwe reports.
The fear of another lockdown arising from the resurgence of COVID-19 infections in Nigeria is the reason the National Orientation Agency is building capacity on how best to curb further community spread of the virus through effective communication strategies.
Irrespective of nationality, to serve the citizens of our country to the highest possible standard, we should always be searching for new ways to improve how we do this.
And define the items that should be listed there to be relevant to the work that we do here. Training items such as strategic communication planning, setting communication objectives, outcomes and outputs, audience insight, turning data into action. This is very, very key.
The UK Cabinet Office says the training is to prepare staff members of the NOA on global best practice leveraging on the peculiarity of their mandate, while applauding the steps taken so far by the NCDC in containing the virus. In Abuja, Ikechukwu Ndukwe.
The National Defense College is upscaling the capacity of security agencies to further enhance their contributions in the ongoing enforcement of containment protocols through a conference in Abuja. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa has details.
During disasters and outbreak of epidemic like the coronavirus pandemic, security agencies are engaged in other frontline roles other than their conventional functions.
It has now become pertinent that we indeed need to raise awareness and understanding of how the security community and the rest of society should engage, particularly in periods of national emergencies. It is apparent that in this engagement, there's need for professionalism, mutual trust, and understanding.
In view of the dynamism and the complex nature of this responsibility, the National Defense College and the Africa Global Empowerment and Development Network are improving the capacity of security personnel in the area of providing enhanced support to assist local administration in facilitating enabling response like logistics and repatriation of nationals, distribution of medicals and relief supplies.
Whichever way we choose to look at these consequences of the recent threat, particularly COVID-19 and the recent NSAS protests, they certainly serve as a wake-up call. A call to promptly rigid and re-strategize with the view of accelerating security, economic and social development.
The conference has the theme, the role of Nigeria's security agencies in the COVID-19 environment. From the National Defense College in Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
A solar hybrid system has been installed to guarantee 24 hours of power supply for the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. Adebola Brooklyn Sunday reports that it's also for optimal functioning of the National Reference Laboratory of the center.
The National Reference Laboratory is the largest test laboratory for infectious diseases and one of the most important facilities in the fight against COVID-19 in Nigeria. Knowing that power supply is the life wire of the laboratory, the Federal Ministry of Power, with development partners, designed and installed the solar hybrid system with a capacity of 652 panels of 400 watts each, a total of 500 kilowatts battery energy storage system connected to the distribution network.
It is essential for lighting and cooling to power vital medical devices, including vaccine refrigerators and diagnostic equipment.
The laboratory will save about 80 million naira per year from reduced diesel consumption.
Minister of Power Salim Muhammad said the move is in support of Paris Agreement and the federal government to curtail COVID-19 pandemic.
The European Union and the German government
Funding, as I understand, will also cover for a 5 years operations and maintenance periods to ensure a sustainable transfer to NCDC.
Through these collaborations, we have made remarkable progress contributing to global health security, digitalizing our case-based surveillance system.
The minister and development partners were taken on a facility tour of the project. The project, which is implemented through the Nigerian Energy Support Program, is to further encourage the use of renewable energy in Nigeria. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday, NTA News.
Meanwhile, 25 million Nigerians are to benefit from the federal government's solar energy expansion program. Minister of State for Power, Okonjo-Iweala Agba, says the program will increase access to electricity, boost local content, and create jobs. Joshua Ojito has that.
5 million solar-powered projects targeting 25 million Nigerians, mostly in rural communities, with attendant gain of stimulating the local economies. It is driven under the federal government economic sustainability plan, designed to provide clean, safe and reliable energy to the unserved and underserved households. Minister of State for Power, Okonjo-Iweala Agba, says 250,000 jobs are expected to be created in the energy sector through the project, which will promote local content in the manufacturing and assembly of the solar-powered systems. Rural Electrification Agency is driving the implementation of the project with the support of donor agencies.
A geospatial mapping tool has been launched to enable us identify the most unserved and underserved areas in the country.
This is a wonderful initiative by the federal government of Nigeria. This is going to encourage economic development, because once you have electricity, once you take power to our communities, then you are encouraging economic growth.
The benefiting communities will be carefully selected to cover the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. In Abuja, Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
Time for another break. More reports when we return on Nationwide.
Life can be very eventful. We curiously expect things to happen, even when we don't know what. Our human nature makes us like and repost lots of information. Some are unverified, inciting anger and hate. Sometimes innocently, other times the urge to break it first. This, in most cases, has caused destruction in many nations.
My name is Nando Jamda
Muhammad.
Stevita
Hussein Musa. Roduna Joel Finji. Said Musa John.
I'm a carpenter. I've been doing this for more than 8 years now.
And I said that plantain na kai kimamin shekara uku.
I've been selling my tomatoes for about 10 years now, and I do it for a better Nigeria.
And I do it for a better Nigeria.
Ina wannan sana'ar lemu ne domin Nigeria ta ci gaba. Ina sa domin Nigeria ta kyau.
And you can see how we are doing our small little work to make Nigeria great.
As you can see, I'm a technician and I'm doing it to help myself and to help my generation.
Ina zaune ne a plateau na business. Kuma ina yin wannan domin ci gaban ƙasar Najeriya.
For a better Nigeria.
This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
Dialogue, empathy, love and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy.
Many thanks for staying. Governor Tambuwal flags off the distribution of fertilizer for dry season farming. For details of this and more, let's join Abdurrahman in Sokoto Network Center.
Hello, Lydia. Good afternoon and welcome to Sokoto. The federal government's import substitution policy can only be promoted and achieved by providing huge opportunities for domestic agricultural production. These came to the fore at the flag-off of date palm plantation and exhibition fair of date palm processed products in Sokoto State. Dalatu Abdullahi reports that Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal was represented by the Commissioner of Environment, Sagir Tahiru Bafarawa.
The flag-off of the dates palm plantation held at a plain land opposite the Usman Danfodio University farms along Sokoto-Gusau Road had in attendance the relevant stakeholders in the cultivation, processing and the marketing of dates palm products. The site of the plantation covers about 100 hectares of land and is one of the 3 sites being allocated to the Zakat and Endowment Commission by the Sokoto State Government as work-off for this purpose. This is expected to be the largest date palm plantation in Nigeria.
But the whole idea is for us to be self-reliant, self-sufficient in whatever we do.
We have traveled far and wide in this country to make sure this advance has been accepted.
Over the years, the available potentials of dates fruits have been underexploited and underutilized by the critical stakeholders in the country.
We want to work with it because it helps us to stabilize the degraded land, and we're going to work with it as an agroforestry candidate species.
To transform the Nigerian economy, no doubt we have to pay attention to agriculture.
With a mission to make Nigeria one of the largest producers of dates in Africa by the year 2030.
The Ministry of Trade will support this program and monitor it to ensure that it achieves the desired objective.
Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal said the strategy is aimed at making Sokoto a leading hub in dates palm farming, processing and marketing in the sub-region. In Sokoto, Dalatu Abdullahi, NTA News.
Sokoto State Government has awarded the contract for the complete rehabilitation of Kwale irrigation scheme to the tune of over 3.5 billion naira. Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal, who awarded the contract, also flagged off the distribution of fertilizer for dry season farming. Dalatu Abdullahi reports.
The contract is under the partnership with the federal government and the African Development Bank to be completed in 10-month period. Established since 1925, covering 800 hectares of land, the Kwale irrigation scheme suffered decades of neglect after being damaged by annual flooding. The approved rehabilitation project comprised of desilting the Kwale Lake, channelization, headwork, water resource development, flood embankment dike, and 8-kilometer water conveyance pipeline to cover 450 hectares of irrigable land, among others. Similarly, Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal has flagged off the distribution of agricultural input to 2,500 wheat farmers in the state for 2020-2021 dry season farming. It is the first phase of the remedy effort to the losses encountered by farmers during the 2020 cropping season caused by flooding in the state. 196 million naira have been expended by the state government in the purchase of fertilizers, wheat seedlings, sprayers, and the agrochemicals.
Government has concluded arrangement for the disbursement of 4 billion naira loan to tomato, rice, and wheat farmers in the state under the CBN Commercial Agricultural Credit Scheme tax program.
Fertilizers will be sold to the farmers at the subsidy, NPK at 4,000 naira and urea at 5,000 naira per bag, while seedlings, sprayers, and agrochemicals will be given to farmers free. In Sokoto, Dalatu Abdullahi, NTA News.
That's it from here. Back to Lydia in Abuja for continuation of Nationwide. Good afternoon.
Many thanks, Abdurrahman. The Benue State University is to partner the Nigerian Television Authority to build the capacity of students in the mass communications and theatre arts departments of the institution. The newly appointed Vice Chancellor of the university, Professor Joseph Okonjo-Iweala disclosed this when he hosted the rector NTA Television College Jos, Dr. Barnabas Gbam, and the zonal director NTA Network Center Makurdi Pam Dungnyam in his office in Makurdi. Godwin Inalego has details.
Function is to provide independent and impartial television broadcasting for general reception in the interest of Nigeria, as no other television station in the country is charged with the same social responsibility. It is in view of this that the rector of the NTA Television College Jos, Dr. Barnabas Gbam, and zonal director NTA Network Center Makurdi Pam Dungnyam paid a courtesy visit on the Vice-Chancellor of the Benue State University, Professor Joseph Iweala, to x-ray the potential of NTA to develop the capacity of students of the institution.
We, as members of NTA family, are willing to support Benue State University and indeed to support your tenure, so that this visibility, especially media visibility, will be enhanced.
NTA has a strength that they can actually tap from. And without apologies, we have a mandate, and that is to project governance, to project the culture, the heritage of the people.
The delighted Vice-Chancellor, Professor Iweala, urged his visitors to convey his gratitude to the Director General of NTA, Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, who he described as a very resolute person. He expressed the belief that NTA, having contributed a lot to the exposure of people, acting and production of soaps, will go a long way in enhancing the capacity of the institution.
I want to thank you and assure you that we are going to partner with you. I want to assure you that our mass comm students will benefit from the opportunities that what we are providing.
Professor Joseph Iweala took over from Professor Moses Umsu Kimbe as the new Vice-Chancellor of the Benue State University on the 3rd of November 2020. In Makurdi, Godwin Inalegu, NTA News.
Now to a bit of politics. Do not lose hope on Buhari's administration. He's working harder to make Nigeria better than he met it in 2015. Leader of the All Progressives Congress in the United Kingdom, Ade Omole, reassured Nigerians during a visit to the APC National Secretariat, Abuja. Salihu Abdullahi Banara reports.
Interaction between the delegation of the APC supporters in the UK and journalists after a closed-door engagement with the caretaker committee commenced with a minute silence in honor of the recent victims of Boko Haram attack in Borno State. Nigeria, like other developed and developing countries in the world, has a share of insecurity and economic challenges in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. The commitment of the Buhari administration to boost the economy through its extended social intervention programs, he says, is timely.
We will keep doing what we have to do, and it's all about supporting the army, supporting people who are in charge, and also supporting the government. Fake news has more or less done more harm than good to this country. What we are doing indirectly is actually fueling the terrorist activities in Nigeria. And that's why we're bent on actually debunking them, ensuring that we put the right information out there.
The UK chapter of the All Progressives Congress has commended President Buhari for introducing the Nigerians in the Diaspora Commission and pledged to work with the caretaker and extraordinary National Convention Planning Committee of the party, led by Governor Mai Mala Buni, to move the party to the next level of progressive governance. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara, NTA News.
Now sports. Nigeria to host 2021 African Under-18 Girls Volleyball Nations Cup beginning from 29th January to 7th February 2021. Bade Adeleye tells us this and more on other sports stories.
Welcome to Sports Update. I'm Bade Adeleye. Let's begin by telling you that Bose Odunsoya is still relishing her victory at the 52nd Asoju Obamola de Okoya Thomas Table Tennis Cup in Lagos after beating Kehinde Oyeniyi for love in Tuesday's final to become the first player in the history of the tournament to claim the title for 6 consecutive times.
I've been training hard for this competition, then I've been training for festival. I pray to play very well in festival more than this one.
The men's singles event of the tournament produced a new champion as former winner and losing finalist in 2019. Ahmed Adeyinka recorded a full victory over Augustine Emmanuel to reclaim the title.
I'm willing to go to more pro tours, more championship in abroad if I see the good sponsor.
Away from table tennis now, Nigeria is set to host the 2021 Africa Under-18 Girls Volleyball Nations Cup after the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports Development granted Nigeria Volleyball Federation's request for the championship to hold in Abuja from the 29th of January to 7th February 2021. In preparation for the continental event, NVBF is organizing open trials for players under the age bracket from 10th to 13th December in Kaduna to select players who will be invited to the national camp. And to basketball now, Nigeria's D Tigers' impressive outing at the 2021 FIBA Afrobasket qualifiers in Rwanda has seen them ranked second in the newly released FIBA African net rating, with Mike Brown's men only second to Tunisia. And finally, Nigerian-born British boxer Anthony Joshua is set to defend his WBA, WBO and IBF heavyweight titles in front of a small crowd at the SSE Arena in Wembley. Joshua faces Pulev on December 12th, and organizers have been given the go-ahead to allow 1,000 fans into the arena with strict adherence to COVID-19 safety measures and guidelines. And that will be all on Sports Update. I am Bade Adeleye.
And that ends Nationwide. We thank you for watching. And here's NT's message against rape and rapists. Have a pleasant evening. Goodbye.
October 1960, moving ahead, no stopping, only sailing on eagle wings. She soars over mountains, the triumph of Africa. Nigeria, Nigeria. We're acting, others watching. Now heroes or losers, all depends on how we play this. Without a doubt, if we live as one, we will achieve a lot. We want and greed, projecting a flag in peace and unity. Nigeria, Nigeria. Nigeria. best. She can be the best. She's got all it takes, yeah, to win the race.
The society, and indeed the world we live in, is made up of people with different behavioral traits, which is a function of family background, peer influence, as well as experiences. These all add up in making an individual what he or she becomes, good or bad-natured. In recent times, just like Nigeria and other countries of the world are battling to contain the spread of the coronavirus, the cases of rape and other forms of sexual assault kept rising in the country. What makes it very worrisome is that even minors are not spared. So on this episode of Frontiers, the focus will be on the rising cases of sexual assault. I am Obiageli. Our guest is Princess Modupe Ozolwa, founder, Empower 54, and special advisor to the Deputy President of the Senate on Non-Governmental Organizations and Disabilities Affairs. Glad to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me.
The program continues shortly. Princess Modupe, once again, you're welcome to Frontiers.
Thank you for having me.
Now, your organization has been working with communities, trying to find solutions to a wide range of societal problems. How would you describe the experience?
Very disturbing in the sense that as much effort that the government is putting in, and also those of us from the non-profit space, the NGOs, etc., and also individual philanthropists that do things on their own free will, the impact still is not truly felt. It's quite disturbing because it shows that there's a great disparity between those that have and those that don't have. Because if that's the case, when you look at the numbers, the figures that the government is allocating for different services, be it health, education, etc., still compare that to how many uneducated children we have. Let's talk about children, let's not even talk about adults. The rates are ridiculous. The government does come up with different initiatives, feeding children at schools to encourage parents to send their children to school. But how many of them still send their children to school? Some of them send them just so they can have a meal to eat because there's no food to eat at home.
Because of the school feeding program?
Yes. So that has helped at least feed people, but to what extent has they actually put children in classes to learn? Now that's a whole different story. And then you look at us from the non-profit space, the millions of dollars, pounds, euros, etc., that's being put into different communities for the same, it's always the same causes, health, education, empowerment, etc. But yet, you look and you still cannot see the impact. It's the same thing like when you go to the Northeast, you go to Border, you look at what's being done for IDPs. You cannot actually quantify the amounts of monies that have been put into IDP-related programs, but yet there's still nothing to show for it. So these are factors that does make you wonder, what are we trying to do? What are we doing that is wrong? How does one even change the narrative to even see any changes at all? So it can be quite discouraging, quite honestly.
Now, in your involvement with these communities, what problem or societal challenges do you find more predominant?
Empower 54, we work in Nigeria, we work in Democratic Republic of Congo, and I can tell you something, the problems are always the same, everywhere. It's just some places have more of it than others. It's always hunger, it's always gender suppression, women are not encouraged to be productive, economically productive. It's always lack of education. It all boils down, quite honestly, down to poverty. When you have money, you can fix things as individuals. So I think the root of it all really is lack of economic empowerment. That's why programs for women empowerment is important, because when you help a woman, you give her a means to make money. You're not just helping her, you're helping her and her children, you're helping generations, etc. So bottom line is just poverty. Poverty really is the root of all of these problems.
Now, you made mention that women are not encouraged to be economically empowered. I think there's a problem there, because we've often heard this adage that says, once you empower one woman, you've empowered a wide range of others, because she keeps touching lives. That is what makes us, the women, different from the male folk. Don't you think there's a challenge there? What should be done to ensure that this particular challenge is reversed?
Cultural, religious reorientation is part of it. Economic reforms to encourage women to be more economically independent, which I do know there are different programs, not just in Nigeria, but globally, that are being done. However, with the Profit For, we usually do women empowerment programs, but let's look at it from a bigger picture. So if I come to, let's say, your village, yes, to do a women empowerment program, and you look at these are minimal skills most of the time. What do NGOs usually do? It's teaching them how to sew, how to farming produce, how to things like that. So let's talk about sewing, for example, because we all wear clothes. We like clothes. We buy clothes all day. Sure. Now, in a community, let's say we have 100 women. Most likely, more than 50 of them will say they want to be tailors. Okay, fine. So 50 are tailors. You look at the picture, so you have 50 tailors, and then you have, let's say, a population of 200 people. How many people will be patronizing those 50 women to sew clothes that will make them financially be independent? Then you have to, because that's something I've been talking about, we need to look beyond the scope of just training. How do I help your business promote it, that you actually have clients? So you look at, there's so many initiatives out there, so many opportunities globally, encouraging businesses and trying to support businesses owned by women. So for me, what is ideal when you look at a situation like that is, it's not just teaching the women how to sew, but how do I help to promote their goods, not just from a national level, but a global scale. We're talking international here. How do I help their produce, they're not produce as in agricultural produce, but their products in relation to clothing, etc., jewelry, whatever, to be promoted, exported out of Nigeria? You go to Harrods, you go to stores, wealthy, high clientele stores abroad, and you will see, for example, baskets made from women in villages in Kenya. Little basket that you weave, and they attach a little story to it. The name of the woman that made it, the village. It's sold for 1, 2, 3, 4, 500 pounds. Wow. Yes. And because it's made by women, they're promoting it. They want to buy it. It's just a simple basket. But so we need to look beyond the easy ways here for us in Nigeria. Because again, for us, for the nonprofit space, we don't pay, in quotes, taxes, because this is another issue we have with government. NGOs don't pay taxes per se, but so for example, if I train women to sew, that is, of course, I'm not generating revenue, but if I now teach them how to sew, or let's say use baskets, for example, I teach them how to make baskets, how to weave baskets, then I now take those baskets and sell them on their behalf. Now I'm trading.
Sure.
Even though the money is going back to them, but I am trading, so I must pay taxes on those products. So there are a lot of gray lines, fine lines that us from the nonprofit space don't really know, and it now becomes a problem with the law. Yes, but in order to encourage, in my opinion, properly encourage entrepreneurship beyond, for women, it's not just to teach them how to do something.
With the coronavirus now at the community transmission level, what is your assessment of the people's compliance that's looking at the level of adherence to the laid down COVID-19 protocol?
People are not, community levels, they're not adhering to those warnings. Most of them don't even believe in that the virus even does exist.
Shouldn't be a strange issue now.
And it cannot be only Nigerians.
We're working with the community, so educate us.
But also at the same time, even look at America. There are people saying that coronavirus does not exist. It's a mindset that some people simply believe some things and some don't. So you have people in the communities that say, no, it's a rich man's disease, a killer. It's not going to affect them. There are those that believe that as long as they drink the traditional herbs, the agbos, etc., roots that are saturated with alcohol, etc., that it's one source to cure all possible illnesses and diseases.
Oh, really?
Ailments. So there's a lot of distrust.
Should we attribute that to ignorance? But there have been lots of sensitization and awareness program going on.
There's a great deal of distrust in everything that comes out of the mouth of government. So a lot of them, like, it's not real. They're just looking for ways to make money, extort money. There are some that say, no, it's just simply rich people that die because they don't know anybody that's poor within the community that has died from coronavirus. But unfortunately, a friend of mine had coronavirus, COVID-19, and I asked him he's recovered now, and I asked him what the symptoms were, and he said it just seemed like a very, very bad bout of malaria. Almost like typhoid. So it's easy to understand why it could be most likely, in communities, rural communities, but they don't know what it is. They would think it's malaria. Do you understand? Yeah. And we're very good at self-medication because of the symptoms. And we're very good at self-medication. Anything you run to the pharmacy or the chemists or the local woman, you're drinking something. So it's, unless you go to, or someone does go to, or you are informed about certain types of symptoms, or you go and have a test done, people would have it and they have no idea that's what it was.
In recent time, the tradition and the social media have been awash with very distrustful acts of sexual assault, even on minors. Taking a critical look at it, what do you think might be responsible for this?
I don't think this is news per se in the sense that it's just starting as in sexual and gender-based violence. What I believe has brought it to the forefront right now during the COVID-19 is because of the quarantine, the whole stay-at-home situation.
People are idle.
People are idle, or you have free time to follow the news and go on social media, so you're seeing stories that you wouldn't have seen if you had to get up and go to work and deal with your daily affairs. And because people had different, I'm not in any way, shape, or form condoning it, yes, but different people had different ways and forms to vent out their frustrations and their sexual urges. Be it they had wives, or not probably wives, girlfriends, prostitutes, etc. Yes? Then being locked at home, they couldn't go anywhere. The sickness, because it is a sickness.
Because you're not allowed to move around,
correct,
especially during the lockdown.
During the lockdown. That perverseness now made a lot of people, in my opinion, because when you're sick, when someone is sick, mentally, psychologically sick, they're sick. They just went ahead and it's just been, pretty much a free-for-all, really. From hearing cases of children, babies, 3 months old being raped.
But Princess, should I really be blamed on the lockdown? Where is our moral uprightness? Where has it gone?
I'm not saying I blame it on as an excuse. I'm just saying that the lockdown made us realize more what was happening, what has been happening.
Okay.
You know what I mean? If, like now, we're able to get up, leave the house, go to work per se now. So you can only check social media so many times a day or read the blogs or the news. But during the period of, 3 months we were home, all we had was our phones and television. So everything was being reported. You couldn't miss anything at that point.
That's true. That's true.
With, it hasn't been only a matter of rape. You've had domestic violence. A lot of marriages have survived, in quotes, because the spouses barely saw each other during the day.
It's true.
The husband would get up or the wife get up, and then they've been patching and managing each other for years because they barely saw each other. But with the lockdown, there was no escape. So there's a lot of cases of physical assault, physical abuse, husbands beating wives, wives doing etc., stabbing, spousal. So there's been a lot going on. And they were not positive things at all, not positive things. So it's drawn all our attention to the fact that the society is in crisis and things need to be done. Serious things need to be done. As you know, there's been a lot of callings for stricter penalties to rape, etc. But the fact is there are laws already in place to penalize rapists. But the problem is the execution.
We'll take a short break now. I'll get back to you. Glad to know you're still there. Now, Princess, what exactly is your organization doing about these challenges, especially as the special advisor to the Deputy Senate President on NGOs?
In the midst of the rise of sexual and gender-based violence issues in Nigeria, the Deputy Senate President, Senator Oviomor Agege, with his directive and also with the support of various chairpersons from the Senate and House of Representatives committees, I went ahead and had various consultation meetings with the ministries, the MDAs in relation to, that have the legislative mandate to address issues in relation to SGBV, such as the police, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Health, NAPTIP, Women's Affairs, Federal Ministry of Women's Affairs, etc., to understand exactly what the problem was. Because there are a lot of discrepancies in relation to what their processes are. Because also from the non-profit space, we're very interested. You have there's a lot of conversation going around the table in the non-profit community about how to put funding to support the government's efforts to curb rape, etc. But it became an issue of where do we put the money to? Who are we supporting? What are we supporting? Everybody is, support us, But I had to sit with them extensively to understand what their processes were and identify what their challenges are, because you cannot come up with solutions without knowing exactly what the root problems are.
Exactly.
And I have to tell you, it was very, very depressing, because in my opinion, based on my findings, victims and survivors of rape in Nigeria are being raped in two ways. They're being raped by perpetrators and also by the system. I'll give you an example why. So you have, of course, within Ministry of Women's Affairs, you have a social welfare department. Off the bat, you can just imagine, based on your own personal interpretation of what a social welfare department should do. However, when you have a victim or survivor, rape survivor, and then they go to the hospital, because up front, a victim might think, okay, the first point of call is to the hospital if he or she is having some major bleeding, etc. And by the way, during this lockdown period of COVID-19, there were more adolescent boys raped than females.
Really?
Oh, yes. Yes. So you have a victim who go to a hospital. Then the hospital tells the victim, no, you have to go to the police station and get a police report. Actually, that's against the law.
So what does the law
The Ministry of
stipulate?
Health, yes, there's a health law, an act of the bat, I can't remember what it is right now, but states that no hospital or medical practitioner should refuse to offer any medical assistance to anybody, any circumstances. If they do, they can be fined 500,000 naira or go to jail or jail for 6 months. So it's actually against the law when you hear cases of people go to the hospital and they say, go and bring a police report, be it for a gunshot wound or any accident at all. What the policy says, not law, but what the Internal Ministry of Health policy says is that they should notify the police, not refuse treatment. So when we're talking about laws, number one, government is already breaking the law. I'm talking about I'm not even talking about private hospitals now. This is even government hospitals. So they get there. Of course, post-rape tests, etc., examinations have to be done. And the victims foot that expense.
Is that supposed to be so?
Good point. What does the Social Welfare Department and the Ministry of Women's Affairs, what is their responsibility? if rape victims have to pay for their own tests I'm not talking about private hospitals, in government-owned hospitals. Most of them are so poor that even the police officers put money together to pay for them to do their tests. And what they do is, when they're opportune to catch the alleged rapist, in the past, they would tell the victims to come back in 3 months to see if he or she contracted any sexually transmitted diseases, so they can start treating. But what they now do is, to prevent the lapses and further trauma, health-related issues, when they have the alleged perpetrator, they also take him to the hospital and run such tests on him too. So if he is HIV positive, they immediately start treating the victim. And guess who pays that? Who? The victim. Because if the alleged rapist says he doesn't have money to pay for this test, it's now the responsibility of the victim to pay for his or her own medical examinations and that of
if
the rapist.
Perpetrators are caught, I think they should be made to pay for all of that and not the victim.
I agree, but if the person says he doesn't have money and it's the life of the rapist, the rape victim, it's not a matter of allowed or not allowed. If the rapist has HIV and says he doesn't have money to pay for his tests, or not even if he has or does not, potentially, let's assume, this assumption that he has some form of STD, and the rape victim is trying to save his or her life, number one, has already been traumatized from being raped. That's even one issue. And then to make sure that he or she has not contracted some sort of disease, it is in the interest of the victim to pay to make sure that he or she has not contracted something even more from the rapist. So why would rape victims, pay for their post-rape kit examinations in government-owned hospitals, where you have the police and it's clear that, yes, this person, he or she has been raped? Yes.
Okay, now, no doubt the family is the bedrock of society. What should be the role of parents, guidance, traditional leaders, and even religious bodies in educating this bad culture and eradicating the bad culture from the society?
How do you reform a people that will make excuses for bad behavior and beg you to forgive someone that has done wrong rather than punish the person that has done wrong? It's the devil that did it. So let's talk about within this rape space. It's the devil that made him, oh, please forgive him. It's the devil that made him rape a 2-month-old baby. You are wicked, you're not understanding. They are encouraging and promoting bad behavior. And who will do this? It will be the traditional leaders. It will be the community leaders. It will be the family members. Because when they come to beg, they come as a clique. They come as a pack. And they will come with people that they believe you cannot say no to. There's no way around it. Yes. So when you talk about even family members, there was a case in social media of a woman that reported to the police her neighbor that raped her 8-year-old daughter. What happened? Her husband and his family members kicked out of the house because she brought shame to their family by reporting their neighbor. The father of the victim
kicked the victim out?
Kicked his wife out because she reported their neighbor that raped their 8-year-old daughter.
Now, but you know that there is a limit to which organization and other non-governmental organization can go in curbing this menace. What, in your opinion, do you think the government can do to tackle this problem?
They need to be serious about tackling the problem. And I honestly think that to really resolve the issue, there need to be more serious consideration and conversations in relation to establishing laws, accommodating people's religious and cultural beliefs. Do you understand?
Yes.
It's important. You cannot, based on my belief, you cannot tell me if I feel it's okay to do something and then you now, because you feel it's not, that's what takes precedence. So there needs to be a lot of conversation. That's why the Child Rights Act has not been adopted by a lot of northern states, because it goes against what is firmly believed. So they need to have such dialogue If the Constitution says that 18 years old, based on global best practices, is what is legally consentable as adults, sexual intercourse, etc. But if someone's religion says 15 or 16-year-old is okay, we're all citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. They need to look at both sides and negotiate and see what it is. What works in the West doesn't necessarily work here. Do you understand? If you're not being realistic about what it is, you cannot throw away traditions. You cannot throw away culture. There's a part in the Child Rights Act that says you cannot put marks, tribal marks, and tattoos on children. It's a crime. But that's our culture. A lot of things should be carefully considered, realistically and domesticated. Don't bring what works in America and think it's going to work in Nigeria. Do you understand that?
Sure.
They have to carefully look at it. Even if it's okay, fine, 18 might not work for you based on your religion, then okay, how do we negotiate this? Where do we say is legal age of marriage? Do you understand?
Yes.
But bottom line is, if there are going to be serious changes, proper, realistic changes in Nigeria, we must consider and respect each other's religions, traditions, and cultures, while incorporating Western beliefs and laws, etc., and global best practices, and come up with what works for us. We must domesticate all of these issues. And I'm sure these are some of the challenges at National Assembly, even coming up with even the Child Rights Act and all of these things. But we can't do the ostrich approach and bury our head in the sand and act as if these are not major issues, because they're major issues, and we all have to agree on these issues for us to be able to move forward, for the traditional leaders, rulers, etc., to be able to speak with authority. Because we know that at least your beliefs and traditions and cultures and practices are respected in the conversation. I think that's really the way to move forward.
Thank you very much, Princess Modubojola. I must confess, it's been a very insightful discussion, and I must sincerely appreciate you for coming on Frontiers.
Thank you for having me.
We've been looking at the rising cases of sexual assault, especially amid COVID-19, and our guest has been Princess Modubojola. Coronavirus is real, so ensure you observe all safety protocol. Wash your hands frequently or use the hand sanitizer and the face masks. Thanks for your time. I am Obiageli.
"24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can watch NTA International live on your TV, computer, iPad, tablet and phone. Log on to visiontv.co.uk and click on Entertainment, then NTAI. You can also download the iOS or Android app on your mobile devices to watch NTA International on the go, anywhere in the world. NTA International, your window to the world.
You can follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. Or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
Of iron are precise and more likely to have spread from one source. Iron does not occur in nuggets. It has to be smelted by heating the one to a high temperature in an enclosed furnace, blasting it through enforced drought. Archaeological evidence suggests that knowledge of how to work iron existed in Diama in the Lake Chad region in the 5th century AD, but was known in the area of the Nok culture in the Niger Valley much earlier in the 3rd century AD. Although it cannot be presumed that the technology of iron spread to different parts of Nigeria.
Anywhere. We provide a company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs, and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, GoTV channel 91, Freeview channel 264, or live streaming via www.visiontv.co.uk. Application for iOS or Android. Intelsat 901/332.5 degrees east. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
Service of the NTA.